Somebody posted a video on Blue Sky, a video that had circulated on other platforms prior, but it's Neil deGrasse Tyson explaining why I'm not sure if it's why he doesn't believe in God or why he has difficulty believing in God, but the long and short of it is this. In it, he says, God is supposed to be all good and all powerful. And to paraphrase, because I don't remember the details of what he says in the video, but to paraphrase, the earth is a crap show, and so it doesn't make sense that God is both all good and all powerful because the earth is a disaster. And so that's why he either doesn't believe or has difficulty believing or whatever. But anyway, I saw the post and decided, well, okay, here's my opportunity to spread some knowledge. Like cow manure on a field. Anyway, but of course it started a sort of, a little back and forth, and I decided I would just go ahead and record a video and explain everything that I'm thinking on that particular topic, because I think it's a 300 character limit on Blue Sky. That's really just not enough time, not enough space, not enough characters to really explain all of this in any kind of detail. And I'm not going to spend the next 20 years posting, 3 and 4 sentences at a time. I'll just record the video. Now, of course, the video is going to be, Lord knows how long, but certainly longer than my typical or my more recent, minute and a half videos. And so I do not expect anybody to watch this. I really don't. And it's fine if you don't. But I will certainly direct, those on Blue Sky to it once I have it finished and uploaded, so that if they do want, detail, they can find it, or they can watch this video and see it. Anyway, but we'll start with Adam and Eve, of course. Genesis tells us God created Adam and Eve, and he tells them that a rule is that they cannot eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And the way it's phrased in Genesis is basically, if you do, in that day, you will surely die. Now, of course, we know Adam ate from the tree, Eve first and then Adam after. And he didn't die that day. So what the passage means, or what it's saying, is not if you eat from the tree, you die that day, but that your death will become a certainty on that day. So in my mind, that sort of implies that prior to that original sin, death wasn't a certainty for Adam and Eve. So from that, can we say that perhaps they were immortal? At least until that point, obviously. That until they committed that act of disobedience, that sin, and that of course is what sin is disobedience to God. But when they ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, in my mind, it seems logical to say that at that point, they became mortal. That prior to that, we don't really know how long they lived. The way it's written in Genesis, it seems just one day after the next kind of thing. But we don't really know that. So, not that that really matters to this conversation. But anyway, but again, God warned them that their death would be imminent, would be certain. Not imminent maybe, but certain. If they ate from the tree. And of course, as we know, they did indeed die. In my mind, what that tells us is that original sin then changed humanity so that everyone after Adam and Eve would have a finite physical lifespan. In other words, we would all die at some point. So what this means is we chose to disobey. We have given free will, chose to disobey, even though we were warned of the consequences. It means that we brought death into the world. Because prior to that, at least as far as humans are concerned, I don't know about animals, so on, but at least as far as humans are concerned, there's at least the implication that apparently death wasn't really part of the picture. So with that original sin, and again, we were warned of the consequences, the ramifications of breaking God's rule, one real simple rule, don't eat from that tree. We did it anyway. We were warned what would happen. It had happened, just as God promised it would. And so we brought death into the world. And again, God warned us, and we chose to disobey anyway. It's our fault. We chose to disobey, and we brought death to ourselves and everyone that follows, every child, every human being on the planet from that point forward has a limited physical lifespan. And again, it's our fault. We chose to disobey. Adam chose to disobey. But, some people think, well, I didn't choose to disobey. Well, yeah, but you're a human being, and you will. You may not today, but you will. Sin is just a part of our lives. Sin and disobedience. So, with the original sin, we brought death into the world. And something a lot of people seem to have a very difficult time, understanding is that we all die. And though, if it's a child, we feel this, it's just not fair. It's just not fair because, well, a lot of people do get to live, 50, 60, 70, 80 years or whatever. But it's equitable because, see, death can take any of us at any time. Accidents happen and so on. Consider this. Think of it this way. If a plane crashes, and I don't mean just a nice, gentle, accident where, most everybody gets to walk away. I'm talking straight down into the ground kind of thing, really severe. Everybody on the plane will die. I mean, it's pretty much an absolute guarantee. Particularly if it, nosedives into the earth or the ocean or whatever. It takes the lives, the accident, that event takes the lives of everyone on the plane. Good people, bad people, old people, young people, people that maybe would be a great positive in the world at some point in their future, or maybe some that would be in a horrible, monstrous, negative, in their future. But it takes them all. So cancer, which, sure, there are some cancers that you're more likely to get as you get older, and yet there are also cancers that typically affect younger people. But I don't think there's generally any cancer that, not a doctor, so I don't know, but I don't think generally we're looking at any cancers that just only affect one age group. I mean, again, there's cancers that generally affect, older people or younger people or whatever. But the key here is that none of us are immune from death. Yes, we like that, people get to live a long and happy and healthy life. That's great. And it is tragic. Don't dare misunderstand. It's horrible when a child dies, a young person. But it's equitable. If you can die at the age of 80, you can die at the age of 8 months, 8 days. We don't want that to happen, obviously. But it can happen and does happen because death is like an equal opportunity destroyer of life. and lives, not just the person that dies, but those around the person that loves the person. But we have to remember again, we brought death into the world. Genesis makes that very clear. So again, we can't expect death to conform to our wishes, to only take, old people or bad people. And of course, who are we to judge who's a good person or bad person or whatever? But consider for just a moment, what would it look like if God did prevent death from taking children or good people or whatever? Which of course he could do that. He's God. But that's just not the way it's set up. That's just not the way it works or is going to work. Because again, he warned us the consequences of disobedience. And even though we like to think, well, Adam and Eve disobeyed, but hey, that shouldn't have any impact on me. Well, no, sorry. You're human. You have, will in the future disobey. It's part of our nature. It's part of our background. Wait a minute, where am I going? It's part of our very makeup. It's who we are as human beings. But again, consider what would it look like if God did prevent, children from dying and all of that. Only old and bad people died. Wouldn't it then be kind of obvious that, somebody's watching, somebody's protecting those that are young or good? What does that do to free will? If we know God is actively preventing children from dying, no child dies, no one but old and bad people die, and somebody's deciding, somebody's watching and keeping up with, and so that means there's a God, and God wants us. He gave us free will, and he even wants our belief in him to be a choice, which is why he's not standing over us, shooting lightning bolts out of his eyes, because he wants us to choose to believe. And if it were obvious that there was something or someone preventing accidents from ever taking the lives of young people and good people and all of that, then God would be making himself known. It would be making himself obvious to the world. And then your free will, your ability to choose not to believe, in spite of all the evidence there is all over us and around us, all around, that there is a God, there is a power beyond us, but you can still choose not to believe. But if something or someone is making it obvious that they're watching and preventing young people and good people from dying, then you don't have much of a choice but to believe. And again, that's not how God works. But again, there are people that seem to believe that the death should be taken sort of on a case-by-case basis for each person, and it's based on, whether they've been good or whether they've been bad or whether but again, the death sentence is on all of us. Physical death will happen to all of us. Adam and Eve chose disobedience and chose sin. Death entered the world. We all, there's only one exception. I think you know who I'm talking about. But we all will eventually do sin. Even children, if they mature, will reach a point, age of accountability, and will sin. Do sin, I guess. But the key is that death sentence has already been pronounced. No one gets out of it. Good, bad, young, old. It's the way it's now works for all people, because if you're physical and you have a finite lifespan, your children will be physical and have a finite lifespan. You know what I mean? So we all are under that physical death sentence. But what's extremely important to note is that there's something called, the Bible terms, I believe, the second death. That second death is eternal, and it's eternal separation from God. That's the second death. And that one is optional. We don't have to choose it. So yeah, we all have to die. Some when we're old, some when we're young, some old, some young, some good, some bad, some good that will do bad, some bad that will do good, some, who knows? Anyone and everyone that dies. But we don't all have to suffer that second death. We don't all have to spend eternity separated from God. That's the good news in all this. So maybe take a look at Romans, I believe it's Romans 10, 9 and 10. It's important. In fact, read Romans, the whole book, and the New Testament, in fact. Well, I actually just read the Bible. But yeah, you might start in the New Testament. It's a good place to start. So anyway, but we need to remember that physical death, we all have to go through it. No biggie. I mean, because it's easy for me to say. I'm not currently going through it. Though I did have, 3 little strokes like a year ago. That was kind of scary. But anyway, beside the point. Anyway. Okay, so now I'm going to rant just a little bit. The depth of stupidity. Some people, oh my goodness, it amazes me. It's truly, honestly, beyond my ability to truly to comprehend. Dumbfounded by this. There are people that are angry at God because of something we brought on ourselves, when it affects, a young person or someone they love and so on. And I can understand being broken, just devastated. Again, I'm not crazy here. It's horrible when, any loved individual dies. Well, even if they're not loved, maybe everyone that loved them has already passed, and it's horrible if children die, when children die. Don't dare take any of this to mean that I'm happy about it. I'm not happy about it. I want us all to live to be 150 and die very quietly and peacefully in our sleep. Or 200 years old would be okay. Just have good lives, and I want all that for all of us. All of us, really, I do. But what will never cease to amaze me is how people will be angry at God and say, we can't believe that God would do this, would let a child die. And yet, they expect him to turn a blind eye when we abort our children? How does that fit? How does that work, people? How can you be angry at God for, that a child dies, which again, wasn't his choice. It's not his choice. And we brought death into the picture here. And then we want him to close his eyes, ignore us. So while we murder our own children, let us, we want to have that power. We want to have that control. We don't want some child inconveniencing our lives. It was, oopsie, we didn't mean to get pregnant. Oopsie. Well, there's ways to prevent it. Yeah, sure, the birth control methods aren't 100%, but there's an absolute way of preventing it by, abstinence. But why would we expect God to stop death from taking children and people we love, and then close his eyes and let us murder children to take them because they would be an inconvenience, because we didn't really mean to. Oopsie. How can people be that stone cold stupid? No offense, but But if you're among that group that feels it's perfectly acceptable to have an abortion because, well, you didn't really want the kid, and then get angry at God because children, isn't there kind of a disconnect here? I mean, am I the only one seeing this? I don't. Anyway, sorry, that's rant over. Sorry, but I felt the need to say something about that. Okay, so one more thing before I come to the conclusion, wrap things up, that I feel the need to say. I question how anyone can really think or expect, I guess is where I'm going, that they can really expect God to behave differently, to do things differently. Because in general, now I'm not talking about everybody, I'm not saying every human being alive, don't misunderstand, but a lot of people, really a huge number of people. I'm really thinking possibly the majority, but anyway, we won't talk numbers, I don't know. But why would we expect him to do things differently when we don't acknowledge him in our lives, we don't worship him, we don't bow down and beg his forgiveness every single day of our lives, we don't pray, we don't love God, we expect him to just come and do our bidding and then get out of the picture so that we can live our lives? Can we please try to remember who is the master and who is the servant or the subordinate or who is the Lord? Who is the Lord? Not us. Not us. So why would we expect God to do differently? Why would we expect him to come out just on our request anytime we need something? Why would we expect him to do that and make things good for us when we don't acknowledge him, we don't love him, we don't respect him, we don't honor him, we don't... Would you expect anybody to do that? To become a slave to their own creation? I mean, if you do, I'm sorry. You're not thinking clearly at all. Maybe you're not thinking at all. But anyway, so let's try to remember that. God does do miracles. God can do miracles. God will do miracles. But I believe he generally will tend to shy away from performing those miracles for people that don't even know who he is, don't acknowledge him, don't. So anyway, that might be a little something to think about. But to close it up, to conclude, I think it's really important that we understand that really when you really think about it, no, God doesn't kill babies. No. Adam and Eve chose disobedience and death entered the picture for them and for everybody thereafter. And you might think, oh, well, I'm good. I don't deserve, we all deserve death. We all sin. We all come short of the glory of God. We all deserve physical death. Again, we don't all have to experience eternal death, separation from God, damnation. That's a choice. But God isn't at fault here. We are. God isn't killing babies. We're killing babies. And so don't be angry at God. If you want to blame Adam and Eve, maybe you get a chance to chat with them, in the afterlife. I don't know. But don't blame God for something human beings brought on themselves. And again, before you say, well, I wouldn't have. Yeah, you would have. Every human being alive today would have succumbed to temptation at some point and would have eaten from the tree. And you know it, and I know it. And that's all part of this big picture I'm trying to explain to you, is that we all sin, we all disobey God, we all deserve death, we are all going to die physically, but we all don't have to die for eternity. Not all of us will spend eternity separated from God, and I don't believe any of us have to. So I'm begging you, please, please, please consider it. And again, more than I can say, thank you for watching.